So good evening to everyone. I'm sorry. So today topic is India's water resources, right? So water is a crucial natural resource for human survival, land development, and land development essential for various purposes, right? So, however, the India faces the challenge of uneven distribution of water resources across different regions. So now, this is the water resources in India. So India possesses approximately 2.45, sorry, 2.45 a percentage of the world's surface area and 4% of its water resources and sustain about 16% of the global population. So the annually the country receives around 4,000 cubic centimeters, cubic kilometers of water through which one? This precipitation, right? With 1869 cubic kilometers available from surface water and replenishable groundwater. Okay. So, however, only 60% of this water can be utilized and resulting in a total utilizable water resources of 1,122 cubic kilometers, right? So now the water, the natural resources are materials provided by the earth that humans can use to make more complex products for them from them. So these are useful raw materials so that we get from the earth. So which means that human beings cannot create natural resources, right? So example, land, air, water, minerals, etc., etc. So the water, an important natural resource. So it is essential for living being, survival, food production, and economic development. So there is no substitute of this natural resource, and it is considered as a unique gift of nature to the mankind. So it is the basis for the renewal and purge and recovery of life on the planet. So in different seasons, so those are the result of global circulation of water. So 3/4 of the planet's surface is covered with water. So all this water is a continuous motion between different environmental components, right? So being an universal solvent and different substances get dissolved and suspended in it during during runoff and precipitation. So the proper assessment of water resources potential is important for its sustainable development and management point of view. So this will be helpful in the proper planning and design and construction and also operation and maintenance. So that is to provide competing demands during irrigation and drought and flood management, domestic and industrial water supply of electricity generation and fisheries and navigation. So the first irrigation commission in so 1901 to 1903, the first irrigation commission in this year, it has carried out the first ever attempt of water resources potential assessment of India. So the main characteristics of the world's freshwater resources is their uneven distribution in time and space. So the fresh water can be considered, it is which color? Green or blue color, right? So green water, the rainfall that is stored in the soil and then evaporates. Soil and then evaporates. Or it is incorporated in plants and organisms. So that is the main source of water for natural ecosystems and for rain-fed agriculture. So which produces 60% of the world food, right? World food. So this is green water and blue water. Blue water means renewable surface water, runoff and groundwater recharge. So that is the main source for human withdrawals and the traditional focus of water resource management. So the blue water total availability is about 40,000 cubic kilometers per year. So of these, an estimated 3,800 cubic kilometers and roughly 10% were withdrawn for human uses in 1995 data only, this one, okay, 1995. So of the water withdrawn, about how much? 21. 2,100 cubic kilometers and aquifers. So usually with significant reduction in quality, right? So India is blessed with different types of natural water resources, right? So which include glaciers, oceans, rivers, lakes, and groundwater. So however, the human beings made dams and also reservoirs to store and water, right? So among different types of water resources and glaciers, so those are solid form of water and oceans has saline water. So therefore, making both unfit for direct utilization. So the rainfall the important constituent of hydrological cycle is the main driving force for the water supply in these resources, right? So now we're going to here. Now water cycle. So what is water cycle? So now water is one of the most valuable resources. It required for all living organisms to survive on Earth. So 97%, 97% of the total Earth's water from the surface to the atmosphere, and water is available in the form of oceans, and the rest of 3% is frozen, right? Frozen up in the form of glaciers or icebergs, right? So, with the help of recycling, the same water has been moving around the world for centuries. So, this process of recycling water has been happening from the evolution of the earth, right? So, this process of moving the earth water above and below the surface. So, that is called water cycle. Okay, water cycle. So the continuous movement of water from the surface, this one, okay, from the surface to clouds, and from clouds to the surface. So that is also called the hydrologic cycle. So the sun and air and many other factors, those are included in the process of the water cycle. So the water goes through all the states of matter like solid, liquid, and gases. So the water cycle is a process in which water evaporates from the surface into the atmosphere and cools and condenses through which one? Rain. So rain in clouds and again falls on the surface. Surface of the which place? Surface of the earth. So with the process of precipitation. This precipitation. Okay. Process of precipitation. So the water falling on the surface of the water after precipitation, it gets collected in the form of groundwater, rivers, ponds, and also lakes, etc., etc. So which all combine in oceans and again get evaporated, right? Getting back. So the water vapors from the oceans or sea. So do not include salt, as salt is heavy to rise due to its high density, right? So which implies the water from oceans or sea is not salty. So what are the effects on climate? So most of the steps of the process of the water cycle that include an important role of the sun. Okay, this sun. So as solar energy powers the water cycle. So the effects of evaporation may have led to the increase in the atmospheric temperature, making making the surface warmer. So, but due to the evaporation cooling, the temperature is reduced. It making the atmosphere automatically cool. So, this evaporation cooling is done by the which process? Evaporation process. Okay, through oceans. At 86% of the global evaporation occurs from the oceans only. So from this, we can say that adding or subtracting the heat, it makes the water cycle works continuously. So the process of the water cycle includes the exchange of energy and influences the climate of the earth. As in the process of evaporation, it takes up the energy, making the environment cool, and while condensing the water, it releases the energy, it making cool. So the making the climate and temperature is stable. So the water vapors formed in the atmosphere, those are generally restricted to the troposphere. Okay, troposphere. So before we are going to this water cycle, you should know the atmosphere. Just wait. So before we are going to hydrological cycle, so you should know about climate system, right? So you see here, the earth climate arises from the interaction of these four climate, major climate system compounds, right? So the atmosphere and the hydrosphere and lithosphere and biosphere. So atmosphere means air. So hydrosphere means water, right? And biosphere means living things. And lithosphere means, what is that? Earth's upper rocky level or rocky layer, right? So remember, all of the earth system end with the world sphere, right? World sphere. So they are often also called the four earth spheres, Z, okay? Z. So the earth is interconnected to these cycles, right? So these systems work together to create our world. So climate is the average weather. It means the average state of the atmosphere for a given time scale. It means hour or day, month, season, year, decade. So the time scale typically over a period of 30 years, and it is determined by a combination of process in the climate system such as ocean currents and wind patterns. So the circulation in the atmosphere and oceans is primarily driven by solar radiation and transports heat from the tropical regions, that is to regions that receives less energy from the sun. So the water cycle also moves energy throughout the climate system. In addition, different chemical elements and necessary for life. So those are constantly recycled between the different compounds, right? So now you see the climate system can change due to internal variability and external forcing. So these external forcing can be natural, right? So such as variations in solar intensity and volcanic eruptions are caused by humans. The accumulation of heat dropping greenhouse gases, so mainly being emitted by people burning fossil fuels. So that is causing global warming. So the human activity also releases cooling aerosols, but their net effect is far less than that of greenhouse gases. Okay. So now you see one by one components of the climate system. First one is air, atmosphere. So the atmosphere came from the word atoms. So which means stream or vapor. So the earth atmosphere envelopes the earth and extends hundreds of kilometers from the surface. So the atmosphere is the body of gases that surrounds our planet, right? So you see the atmosphere is contains mostly of inert nitrogen, that is 78%, and oxygen 21%, and remaining 1%, so that is called trace gases. Those are called organs also. They are include water vapor, ozone, carbon dioxide, and also methane. So which absorb and then release energy as infrared radiation. So now in the atmosphere, the water vapor and carbon dioxide, so those are the gases most important for the working of the climate system, right? So the gases in the atmosphere keep the average temperature of the lower atmosphere habitable 14 degrees centigrade, right? Through a process known as greenhouse gases, so which allow visible light from the sun, that is to penetrate to the surface, but block some of the infrared radiation the earth surface emit to balance the sun's radiation, right? So this radiation causes rise the surface temperature. Surface temperature. So the hydrological cycle is the movement of water through the atmosphere. Through the atmosphere. So not only does the hydrological cycle, so it determine patterns of precipitation. So it is also as an influence on the movement of energy throughout the climate system. Right? So next one is hydrosphere. So the hydrosphere came from the word hydra or hydro. So that is the Greek word. So hydro means water, right? So that includes all the water covering the earth. So both liquid and solid form. So it ranges from how much 10 to 20 kilometers in thickness. So it is the from the depth of the ocean to the ice-capped peaks of the mountains. So and it is the component comprising all liquid surface and subterranean water, and both fresh water, including rivers, lakes, and aquifers, and also saline water of the oceans and seas. The fresh water runoff from the land returning to the oceans in rivers influences the oceans composition and circulation. So the oceans cover approximately how much? 70%. 70% of the earth surface. Okay. So, an important process that happens in this hydrosphere, so that is called water cycle, right? So, the water cycle describes the continuous movement of water on above and below the surface of the earth. So, next one is cryosphere. Cryosphere. So in some books, this cryosphere falls under hydrospheres. So the cryospheres contains all parts of the this climate system where water is solid. It means, so it is the frozen part of the water, right? So this includes such as sea, ice and ice sheets and permafrost and snow cover. So because there is more land in the northern hemisphere compared to the southern hemisphere, and a larger part of that hemisphere, so it is covered in with snow. So the most frozen water is contained in the ice sheets on Greenland and also Antarctica, which average about 2 kilometers in height. So these ice sheets slowly flow towards their margins, right? So these ice sheets with their bright white color and ice and snow that is reflect large amount of incoming solar radiation back to the space. So ice also serves to insulate the ocean and land from the atmosphere. So the presence of ice, it can change the dynamics of wind and weather process. So next one is lithosphere. So lithosphere, it came from Greek word also. So litho means rocky. So the lithosphere, the latest sphere includes the rocks. So it means it includes earth crust and upper part of the mantle and make up the lithosphere. So that's why it's also called as the crustal system. So some books they call lithosphere as geosphere. So however, there is a minor difference between the lithosphere and geosphere. So the lithosphere is rigid and mechanically outer layer of the earth, and it is divided into 12 major plates. So and now other hand is geosphere, this one. So it is the solid body of the earth. So for this class, we are just going to use hydrological cycle, right? So our lithosphere consists of approximately the first 60 miles of solid material from the surface of the planet down. So this is also referred to as earth crust, right? So these are the climate system, right? Okay, next one is this. Right. So now, what are the steps of the water cycle here? You see here. So the water is available at a very low amount around the world. So this amount of water has been moving in the world for centuries with the process of this water cycle. So the process of the water cycle mainly included, so these four steps. First one is evaporation, and second one is condensation, and third one is precipitation, and last one is fourth one runoff and infiltration. Right? So first one, I'm going to first one. You see in this picture, right? So first one is precipitation. Sorry, evaporation. So this one. So so evaporation is a very important process, and it has this step includes the transfer of water from which place? From the earth surface, this earth surface in the form of water vapors to the atmosphere. Right? So the normally the evaporation of water takes place when the water touches its boiling point. So that is 100 degrees Celsius, etc. So the evaporation is also known as transpiration. This transpiration. Okay? Transpiration. So as the transfer of water from the minute pores present on the leaves of the plant in the form of water vapors. So that is to the atmosphere. So that is called transpiration or total evaporation. So in this process, the evaporation cooling cools the atmospheric temperature as the solar energy is falling on the surface of the earth and making the surface warm and making the vapors of the water present in the ocean. It moves towards the atmosphere. So due to the rising air currents. So similarly, these vapors from plants, some trees and wells and also underground water, etc. So that rises up in the sky, making the earth surface cool. So the vapors can also be formed through snow or ice. So without even converting it into the water, this process of directly converting solid into gaseous state. So that is called sublimation. Okay. Sublimation. Okay. So the basic elements required for sublimation include strong sunlight and low air pressure and strong wind and low temperature and also low humidity, right? So this is the evaporation process. And next one is, second one is, what is that? Condensation. So this is first one. First one and second one and third one. So condensation. So condensation. So already evaporation is over. Okay. Uh, Ipu. So second one is condensation. So after this process of converting water into vapors, so that rise up in the sky, rise up in the sky, and the vapors are again converted in the liquid from due to the increase in temperature as it comes in contact with the cool air, making the atmosphere cool. So this process of conversion of vapors again in the liquid form is called condensation. Okay, condensation. So this process of condensation starts as soon as the air. So that is full of water vapors, and it is ready to convert the vapors into water droplets again. So the water vapors convert in the form of liquid after it hits the 0 degree temperature. 0 degree temperature and combine to form a tiny droplet of water. So these tiny droplet merge together to form a larger droplet of water, right? Larger droplet of water. So when the droplet is large enough to cross cross the up drift of the cloud, it formed by a water vapors. So the droplets of water tend to move out of the cloud and fall down due to the gravity of the earth. So this process of falling of water droplets on the earth's surface, so that is called precipitation, right? So which comes after condensation. So if these merged droplets pass through a high air pressure, then the droplets may get crystallized, or freeze and fall upon the earth's surface in the solid form like ice, snow, etc. Right? So if the circumstances, those are between those of snow and rain, then the droplets will fall with the icy cold and half frozen water droplets, which is known as sleet. Okay. So this is condensation. And third one is precipitation. So the precipitation, the water vapors. So this is third one, right? This precipitation, third one. So the water vapors after this condensation, so those are turned into water droplets, right? So which are inside the clouds and moving around the world. So these clouds strike each other due to the wind movement resulting in the form of rain and fall back on the earth's surface. So in the form of rain, hail, snow, or this sleet, okay, depending on the atmospheric temperature. So this process of again falling off the water droplets on the earth's surface is called as precipitation. Okay, so the precipitation occurs when the air cannot hold any more water droplets. Okay, any more droplets. So the precipitation that falls in the form of water can fall on various places, right? Various places for further evaporation, like some may return back to the atmosphere by the process of evaporation. So some may get evaporated through the surface of leaves and plants. So some may get to the water bodies and directly flow to the oceans to get evaporated. So some penetrate into the soil with the process of infiltration. So that is to the streams and groundwater. So the water present near volcanoes are anywhere near to thermal energy sources. So that is called spring. Okay. Spring. What is that? Spring? Water present near volcanoes. Near volcanoes are anywhere. So anywhere near to thermal energy sources. The water present near to thermal energy sources are anywhere or near volcanoes. So those sources are called spring. Okay. So this is the precipitation. And last one, runoff and filtration. Here. So runoff and filtration means, so when the water falls and comes to rest in lakes, so the lakes are oceans and wells and lands, etc. So this process, which process? When the water falls and comes to rest in some places. So those are lakes, oceans, wells and lands. So this process is called runoff. Okay, runoff. R-U-N. You see here, this runoff. Okay, runoff. So while dropping down, if the droplets get in the snow or ice form, the lakes and oceans get melted in the form of water. So this increases the water flow in the lakes and rivers, so which can bring the problem of floods, right? So this is the reason why there are generally more floods in the spring or summer season as compared to the winters. So this process of the water cycle is a cycle process that has no end or beginning, right? No end or beginning. So the main advantage of this cycle is that there is no loss of water, right? No loss of water, and the water present in the oceans and seas, so always remain leveled, and there are clouds every time in the sky, right? So this is the steps of water cycle. So evaporation, condensation, precipitation, runoff and infiltration, right? So now So now importance of groundwater resources in India. What are the importance? Tell me, anybody? Okay, right. So, so the groundwater resources in India, a lifeline for millions of people and a driving force behind its economic growth. So those are under immense pressure due to population growth and climate change and unregulated exploitation. So they are crucial for several reasons, right? So the groundwater resources are a critical component of the country's agriculture sector, so which accounts for a significant portion of the country economy and employment. So groundwater is used extensively for irrigation purposes. So particularly in in areas where rainfall is insufficient or unreliable. So they are also a primary source of drinking water for millions of people, particularly in rural areas, right? These rural areas. So where access to surface water sources is limited, right? So finally, the groundwater resources are also important for industrial and commercial activities, including manufacturing, mining activities, and power generation. So thus, the availability and sustainability of groundwater resources in India, it have a significant impact on various aspects of the country's socio-economic development, right? So, so what are the groundwater resource assessment in India? So that is the Central Groundwater Board. Central Groundwater Board means CGWB, right? Central Groundwater Board. So a key governmental organization responsible for assessing and managing groundwater resources in India. So they published the one of the book, The Dynamic Groundwater Resources Assessment of India 2022 report, that is last October, right? So this comprehensive analysis offers crucial insights into the current state of groundwater resources in the country, as well as the ongoing management initiatives and future challenges. So the groundwater level is a key element that reflects the groundwater regime in an area, and it is monitored by the Central Groundwater Board and the state government through a network of observation wells. So the groundwater resources assessment is carried out periodically jointly by state groundwater departments and also Central Groundwater Board under the guidance of the respective state level committee on groundwater assessment at state levels and under the overall supervision of central level expert group. Okay. So what are the key findings in this water groundwater resources? So in that 2022 report, so in this important report, they examine the factors shaping India's groundwater landscape and discussing the government's strategic approach that is to address these challenges. So there are some points is there. First one, the major source of groundwater recharge is monsoon rainfall. So which contributes about how much um, so 55% of the total annual groundwater recharge. So the rainfall during the monsoon season, it contributes more than 70%, right? 70% of the annual groundwater recharge in states like Madhya Pradesh, Goa, Gujarat, Jharkhand, Kerala, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Rajasthan, etc. Right? So the contribution of recharge from rainfall, including both monsoon and non-monsoon. So to the country's total annual groundwater recharge is 61%, right? 61%. So the remaining 39, it comes from other sources like canal seepage, a return flow from irrigation, and recharge from tanks, ponds, and water conservation structures, right? So the natural and anthropogenic stresses impact the groundwater regime, including climatic parameters and pumpage from the aquifer and recharge due to the irrigation systems and also other particles like waste disposal, right? So the groundwater level data for 2021 and 22 reveals that the general depth to water level in the country ranges from 5 to 10 meters below ground level. So with very shallow water levels of less than 2 meters below ground level observed in few states. So such as Assam, AP, and Kerala, Karnataka, Meghalaya, Jharkhand, and Tamil Nadu in small patches, right? So the annual groundwater recharge, also known as dynamic groundwater resources, okay? So dynamic groundwater resources. For the entire country, it has been assessed as how much? 437.60 billions cubic meters. And natural discharges work out to so how much? 36.85 BCM, right? So hence the annual extractable groundwater resources for the entire country, those are 398.08 BCM, right? So the total annual groundwater extraction for the entire country. So in the year of 2022, it has been estimated as 239.16 BCM. Okay. So with agriculture being the predominant consumer of groundwater resources. So accounting for about 87% of the total annual groundwater extraction. You see this picture, right? So the overall